H here with Michelle Sloan, and welcome to Morning Vibes, weekly conversations to elevate how we think, live, and show up. So, last week, within our month of living intentionally, we talked about awareness of what we're thinking, what we're speaking, what we're feeling, and what we're doing. This week, we're talking about what we get to do after awareness, where we now realize that we get to choose. So we can choose to repeat an old pattern, or we can choose something that's aligned with who we're becoming. You can do what you thought you were supposed to do, what's expected of you, or you get to move towards what truly lights you up. We get to design our lives. Before we dive in, please remember to hit the subscribe button and like this video. And Michelle, what are your opening thoughts?
When we begin to make decisions from that place of awareness and choice, we start to live more aligned, more on purpose. And that has a feeling like everything is flowing. It doesn't mean that everything can be easy, but it does mean we're no longer reacting to life. Instead, we're consciously participating in it. And that's what truly matters because when we live by design intentionally, our choice reflects who we truly are. And we live the way that we want to experience.
Yeah. So, I was thinking about this as we were preparing for today, and my first career was really just what you did, right? I graduated college, I got a job in the
Mhm.
field of my degree. I was outwardly successful. I quickly, became great at what I was doing, but it didn't feed my soul. I was doing what I thought I was supposed to do without ever thinking about what was truly going to light me up. It consumed me, it sucked me dry. Ultimately, it depleted me so much that, as you know, I got really, really sick. In my quest to get healthy, I came to understand that I am here to shine my light my way. It's not always going to make sense. As you said, it's not always going to be easy for a variety of different reasons that we can have a whole bunch of these morning vibes um, episodes on. And it certainly doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, right? It's about me finding what's true for me and moving from there, as it is for each and every one of us, finding what's true for us within and then moving from there, designing
Mhm.
our lives our way.
Absolutely. But I think we first need to understand what living by default looks like so that
Mhm,
we can identify it.
mhm,
It looks like doing what's expected of us or what's comfortable or letting fear and insecurity drive us. So that creates a gap between you and your potential. So it diminishes the power within. And I've experienced that moving from corporate like you into modality work, into wellness, into ministry. It changes. You become more aware of what everyone else is going to think instead of living your truth. And I've done that. I've dabbled back and forth in it. So I know what you're talking about when you're not truly living by design. But living a life that you don't enjoy takes a lot more energy than living a life that you love. And some examples, if you want to begin to take a look at your life and understand what living by default looks like, it's staying in routines that no longer serve you, staying in jobs that no longer serve you, that don't bring you joy. It's about you following your path versus what others expect. Like, and
mhm.
sometimes we choose a career because someone expects that of us, or a lifestyle, or even a relationship because it's what a family or culture or society expects, rather than asking yourself what genuinely fulfills you. And sometimes it's even living by old beliefs. It's just the way you've always done it, or um, this is what's expected. It's almost like, I guess, what we'd say is autopilot. Instead of asking yourself, like, where in my life am I living or running a pattern and I'm not living intentionally? I mean, just kind of dissecting any area of your life, right? Because some areas we might be living intentionally, and others we might be living by default. So just asking yourself if it's still true for you. Because living by default isn't something we do intentionally. It happens when we stop checking in with ourselves.
Yeah. And to build on that, I will say that oftentimes I will have people who are now recognizing what you said. And then they'll say to me, well, I do want something different, but I don't even know what it is. I don't know
Mhm.
what I want to be doing,
Mhm.
which I completely relate to. And in that scenario, I say that first we begin with feeling. how do I want to feel, right? Not worrying about the vehicle or the vessel that is going to bring
Mhm.
you that feeling, just how do I want to feel? Empowered, free, valued, valuable, whatever it is, really honing in on that. You can actually just close your eyes and just move into the feeling that you want. And then to get under the noise and the blocks to the ideas and the inspiration that's already within you to get you on that path of feeling how you want to feel, there are a few questions that I absolutely love to contemplate. If I knew I couldn't fail, that I had the money and the connection and the resources and was guaranteed success, what would I do? Right? Because that helps to kind of take the brain out of it of how am I going to make this happen? Or, oh my God, it's so much work. I don't even want to think about it.
Mhm.
And then conversely, the question I love to ask, even if I fail, what is worth it for me to try? And just allow yourself to contemplate those couple of questions, and then you'll see we start to open the door towards tapping into discovering what it is that we want.
Yes, Stacey, I love the questions because when we stay in question, we stay in possibility
Yeah.
versus when we stay in a point of view, it creates a dead end. So
Mhm.
staying in question is absolutely something I always suggest and love to, you know, do for myself because I think living by design, it feels very different from autopilot. And you have to be intentional with what you do and who you are. It doesn't mean everything's easy. It doesn't mean it's perfect. It means there's a deeper sense of connection and intention behind your choices, right? So we've heard this before where you place your focus is what you create. And I
Mhm.
can relate that by saying, like, no one ever read a book by accident, right? They made an intention, they made a choice, they made a decision. Um, and in some ways, living by design often feels like the sense of clarity. That's how I feel. Because decisions still require thought, but they're guided by your values rather than just reacting to circumstances. And to me, that brings me inner peace. There's still a feeling of moving in the direction that feels authentic. And that brings the calmness to me, right? So
Yeah.
that's what inner peace feels like when I'm living by design. But my daily choices and how I spend my time and who I spend my time with, that starts to feel more meaningful just because I'm making choices intentionally. Is this going, can I give this person my full attention? Am I going to feel depleted after this meeting? Is this a time to do this? Like sometimes it's a check in. That's what the check in is really just about aligning with yourself, with your words, with your actions to match your values.
Yeah. And that reminds me of stuff we've talked about before, the sacred yes and the sacred no.
Hmm.
Where so many of us, me being a perfect example, is just so accustomed to doing what I think that people need or what I'm being asked of to do for people before checking in and taking to what do I feel? What's my sacred yes? What's my sacred no? Because sometimes we need to say no to someone else or to another situation in order to be able to say yes for us. And again, I still go back to that sometimes we are so accustomed to taking care of others' needs that we don't even know how we know what we want to do, which is where
Hmm.
I say we always know what's within. And as you talked about that feeling, and it can be something to cultivate, but we take that moment and we ask the question and then we
Hmm.
let our body respond. Like you said, for me, it's like it's either like a heavy feeling if it's a no, or it's a light feeling if it's a yes. It's really simple and we all have it within. We just sometimes need to take some time to cultivate it.
Absolutely. Because when you're trying to be someone else or meet someone else's expectations, you're not showing up as you. But when you are living by design, you're more confident in your decisions. I mean, you know what that feels like, right? That's the sacred yes. Instead of constantly second guessing yourself, you start trusting that inner guidance. We all have it. We all know what is ours to do. Even if the choice feels difficult, you still feel grounded in knowing what's right for you. I think we've all experienced that because
Yep.
living by design feels like it's no longer just happening to you.
Yep. Yes, exactly. And as we live by design and we learn that it's no longer happening to us, as we're going to talk more about, and as I'm sure everybody has heard, then we get to be in that choice and we know that life is happening for us. We get to
Hmm.
choose what it is that we want to be bringing in. We get to ask our questions. We get to even contemplate, it'd be really cool if this happened or that happened, or I got to experience that. And as we set those intentions, that
Hmm.
path begins to appear. We get to walk down it. And then we recognize that those things that we thought were happening to us are happening for us so that we can become the person who can now experience what it is that we put out that we want.
Yes, it's consciously creating the life you desire. And it's choice by choice, it's moment by moment. We might not choose right in one instance, but then we reflect and then we choose again. That's the beauty of life. Every moment is a new moment for a new choice. That means you can have a new life by one choice at a time.
Yep,
So alignment begins there. It's when something feels aligned, it feels grounded. Alignment doesn't feel simple sometimes, but it does bring that quiet inner knowing, that clarity.
yep,
I think that's how we know we've chosen for ourselves.
yep. Completely agree.
Do you have any other last minute thoughts, Stacy, on the topic living by design versus default?
No, I just encourage everyone to, take a moment this week and ask yourself some of those questions, even just that simple question like, God, it would be great if I got to experience that. We get to bypass that part of our brain that tells us, oh my God, this is going to be so difficult to accomplish, or all that I need to do to accomplish it. We just get to tap into that magic of knowing that the universe is going to support those deep desires within us as we get clarity on those deep desires.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stacy. So if today's conversation resonated with you, please hit like, please subscribe, and share the Morning Vibes Duo link because someone might need a little inspiration and you could be that for them by sharing this video. So until next week, stay present, stay aware, and keep choosing a life that feels good to you. Until next week.
Bye, everybody.